Okay.
After night to get
Yes.
time to work. No. This is a driveway place.
Yes. Y'all gonna move out here?
Well, we was gonna build the house, and she didn't want to come. Come on out. 13 acres right up the street.
Really? That's your land?
That's our land. We got it's 4 of us, 3 of us in it, and I was gonna buy their part.
And build a house out here for you and Granny.
We all were gonna have a part, you know.
And Granny didn't want to do it.
I was gonna buy that. Yeah, it ain't that much. And
13 and a half
13
acres. You could do some stuff with that.
I had a road cut through there and everything.
Really?
Yeah, had
Where was I?
Can you bring your group up?
Yeah.
Uncle Vernon, don't be fronting her out like that.
This is called Sandfield Cemetery. It was once called well, still Mount Moriah, but we call it Sandfield. It was a nickname, Sandfield Cemetery. So if you look it up online, you will see that it's called Mount Moriah. That's how you would find the cemetery. It was dedicated by our great-great-grandfather, Silas, some of our great-great-grandfathers, some of our 4th generation, 3rd generation grandfather, Silas Patten, dedicated this land for the cemetery to be here today. And one of the earliest graves you're going to see today is going to be our great-grandfather, those of you who are Youngbloods. And the Youngblood, James and Eliza Youngblood, are buried right across from my other grandparents, Silas and Kitty. Now, Silas and Kitty's son, Norman, married James and Eliza Irby's daughter, Mourning Elizabeth. And that's why we're all here today. So what I want you guys to do today, when you go up here and you observe their graves, is be grateful for our ancestors and why we are here today. Our grandfather, those of you who are Pattens, there was a building that stood right here when I was a little boy. Aunt Ann and all of them who are standing here probably remember that little church. All of you who are older, that sit right about there. Now, it looked about like that building was standing right there. It was a school. And in that school, my grandfather, Silas Patten, was murdered. You'll hear later today, if he comes, my cousin Bo, will add to that story because this is the story Grandma Ruby told me. The reason why he was murdered, he was opening up a school. This area that you're standing right across the street there is an Indian cemetery. And it is very respected up here by the African-American community, that cemetery across the street. We never knew that for a long time. But this area was occupied mostly by African and Native Americans and white Americans, predominantly Indian and black Americans in the area at the time. Well, when he was opening that school, they did not want him to open that school. So a group of men came back with some guns, and my mother can add a little bit to the story, and they saw them coming, but my grandfather jumped in front of the gun with the man went to shoot his son, Edmund, who they wanted to kill. He was one of the persons who was part of the 22nd legislature in Texas.
We looked him up.
Well, he was murdered in that building there. Well, when I was a little boy coming up here, my grandmother would take, there was a board that still was in that old school building, where she would turn it over and you could see our grandfather's blood stain on the board when I was a little boy. I hate they tore it down, but it must have been torn down around the late 70s or early 80s. But it sit there for a long time. So we have a lot to be grateful for. We have a lot of history that a lot of people don't have. And so this is why we're here today. So I'm going to lead you guys up here to the cemetery. When we get up there, I want Pastor Colbert to lead us in a prayer for our family. And he's the descendant, he's the husband of Vanessa Colbert, who is the great-granddaughter of Silas Patton. All right.
Respect, you're in a cemetery. I don't know who that is, but maybe he's somebody. I'm just videotaping all the people. I don't get to touch this camera often. So.
Oh, you don't?
No.
Oh.
How cool. Huh.
Here I am.
Look, you see Dad is mom and dad.
Really?
This is Daddy's mother and Dad.
Yeah, this is our dad.
Our grandparents.
Papa's mom and daddy right here.
Really?
Yeah.
My daddy's parents. George and Lena.
Wow. That's cool stuff.
Yep.
I wish they had it because they could have learned so many of them.
Daddy's parents.
I'm just amazed at the tombstone. Looks like they stitched it right in there. Silas.
Actually, Granny is named after Mother had Bueller.
That's
Mama's
my
Margie's.
grandparents.
Is Margie's?
These are your grandparents?
Margie's grave is supposed to be here.
So hold on. This is Muz's grandparents?
This is Mother's parents.
Well, Muz's parents and this Daddy's parents. Oh wow.
Explain this to us.
This is my grandparents, Silas and Beulah Patten, my mother's parents. Over there is my dad's parents.
Daddy.
Oh, so that's it. We figured out where we came from.
No, not yet. You can figure it all out.
These are all Patten. No,
So say 1891.
but that's where.
Are you with us? No. Just see here.
Neil, give me a call, man. I want to shoot you too.
Why? Because somebody died. What's that?
Which is something. My soul is something here.
Where's Granny?
It's beautiful. It's scripture. Whatever it is, it's scripture.
She was really young. She's like 22 years old. Yes. Now who is Nancy Patten?
I'm going to get that one over there. Oh, okay. So somebody came in later.
And there's a Durden over there
It might have been Jane and maybe they had.
on the other side of that one.
Is this okay?
Viola.
Who is that? You know?
That's probably one of the brothers. See their name? His daddy
Yeah. Well, why is it spelled with an I?
They spell them different.
Okay. Be careful, I don't know what that is.
Okay, that's it. Would you tell them I'm not here? I'm not here.
These are
I'm here.
Double F, yeah.
You're Jeffrey? I'm Radisha Allen. Yes, one of Patrick's cousins.
Okay.
Nice to meet you.
Everyone is, huh?
Yeah, I know, right? But really, like really close. Uh-oh, excuse me. Okay. Hi.
Where's Mr. Patrick?
I don't know, look for the hat. Uh-oh, excuse me. I know that's right. You know that's right. Okay, so they spelled Durden. One lady's name is Teola Durden with an I. Explain that.
Can't.
That why they spell it differently. Papa, do you know why they spell the names differently?
Spelled Patton.
That was probably the way the man knew how to spell it.
Yeah.
You know, they wasn't into spelling back then. You look at some of the letters, like the 2s and 3s, they're turned backwards. That was the way they didn't, education-wise, they wasn't that smart.
Got
A
it.
lot of these were slaves. They didn't have a chance to go to school.
So they just spelled it the best way they knew
They
how.
did the best way they can. So you're going to see some of them with the letters backwards. That's the only way they knew how to do it. So it wasn't necessarily the way they spelled it, but that's the way they knew how to spell it. And they had to accept that. See, Pawpaws, they never did come out and put his born and finished there. You know,
Because they probably didn't know, because slaves didn't know their birthdays. But would he be 1897? He was a slave,
That's when she
1897?
was born. That's Beulah, his wife. She was born in 1897.
So she was a slave.
No, she really wasn't. She wasn't a slave.
But she might have still worked on a...
No, she had a house. Where the property was, where I was going to build that house, that's where they lived. But the house burned down. So they got just some